Hi, this is Mark, and today we're going to be talking to Transformers superstar Anthony Ramos. We're going to discuss being lost and finding yourself, keeping faith in pursuit of achieving your dreams, colorblind casting in Hollywood, and reconnecting with family despite turbulent years. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Mark Summers Unwraps.
Mark, you know fascinating people, but perhaps more fascinating is how you know them, how you're so connected to them. So can you tell me how you know Hamilton star of now stage and screen in his own right, Anthony Ramos?
I have often been in the right place at the right time, and this was one of those situations. I had just been diagnosed with cancer, and I was trying to figure out how to become less depressed about the whole situation. And I dug into my brain and said, the one thing I always wanted to do but never did was be on Broadway. And I thought, well, you know, the odds of that happening are slim and none, but unless you stick your toe in the water, it's not going to happen. I had met a guy in a bar, and this sounds like a story, in New York. And the restaurant, which is no longer in existence, was called Angus McKindo's. And it was owned partially by Mel Brooks, Nathan Lane, and Matthew Broderick. Oh, nice. And on the third floor were all Broadway people, and you couldn't get up there. They were really good about keeping folks like me out of there. And I finally talked my way up there, and was sitting in the presence of the people I just spoke and many other Broadway types after the shows were over with. And I'm at the bar one night drinking by myself, sort of listening out of both ears to what was going on. And a guy came up to me and said, I could have been you. And I said, what does that mean? He said, I auditioned for Double Dare, but I didn't get it. And I said, well, what do you do for a living now? And he said, I produce Broadway shows. And I went, well, that's a cool job. You're just the guy I'm looking for. And he said, why is that? And I said, I'm just getting over or going through this cancer thing. And the one thing I always wanted to do was be in theater again and maybe Broadway. Can you help me? And he said, yeah, maybe I can. So he said, give me your number. And a few weeks later, he called and he said, I just took over a theater that's doing summer stock in Long Beach Island, New Jersey. We're doing Grease. Would you like to play Vince Fontaine? And I said, do I have to audition? He said, no, the part's yours. And I said, okay, fantastic. So I was, let me clean this up, pooping in my pants, thinking that, hey, I have to actually go out and do this, and can I memorize lines, and what's this going to be like? And when I get there, needless to say, I'm the oldest guy in the room because all these young people who want to be on Broadway and have a better shot at it, certainly than I ever did, kind of went ape because they grew up watching me on Nickelodeon and grew up watching me on Food Network. And now I was in their presence and they were just sort of oohing and ahhing. And it was a cool feeling. And one of the people in the chorus was this young, I think he was 18 or 19-year-old gentleman. His name was Anthony Ramos Martinez. And there was something special about him. He just stood out. He was always the first one in, the last one out, was always rehearsing on the side, and just was putting 150% of energy into it. And we all looked at him and said, if any of us are going to make it, this is the guy. I'd like to welcome my good friend Anthony Ramos to Mark Summers Unwraps. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you. It's good to see you, bro. It's good to see your face, man.
I haven't seen you. Last time I saw you, we're going to get to it a little bit later when you came to my live performance.
Of Double Dare. I came on tour. He was playing, I think, in Long Island.
In Long Island, like and you popped in. That was a cool night. So many things to discuss. First of all, you just turned the big 3-0.
I did.
And I saw they had a surprise party for you. Were you truly surprised?
I was very surprised. I was very, very surprised. I kind of had like a feeling it was going to happen, but I didn't know it was actually going to happen. So when I got there and I saw all those people I love in one room, like friends I hadn't seen in a while, and just family members who I hadn't seen in a while there, it was really special.
You're a good actor, but I didn't think you can fake that. And it seemed to me like, oh my God.
Surprised,
yeah, I could tell.
Yeah.
And who pops in but Lin Manuel Miranda?
Right. Yeah.
What has that man meant to you in your career?
He means a lot, especially in my career. Like, I think, Lin is a huge part of, a huge reason why I'm able to do the TV and the movies and the music and the this and the that. Like, he gave me this opportunity, especially with Hamilton. And then in the Heights, And even before that, we did a small, like a 13-minute musical called 21 Chump Street that we did at the Brooklyn Academy of Music that, you know, people started to watch and people really started to see my work. And, you know, it's you know, he created a role for me, or roles, right? Like, or gave me opportunities that weren't necessarily there before he started making things, you know, for people like, you know, especially Latinos, you know, like, so yeah, Lin means a lot to me as a, you know, as a reference to my career, plus, you know, as a friend. You know, he's been there for me even outside of work.
Which is nice to hear.
Yeah.
He's an amazing guy. I'm in an email relationship with him, and I said something to him about, I think Anthony is the next Tom Hanks, and he agreed with me. So
amazing.
It is. You've had a lot of important people, special people in your life, and I was watching CBS one night, and you were redoing the house of a teacher.
Yeah.
Tell me about that person. What's her name?
Her name is Sarah Steinwise.
And why is she so important to you?
She, you know, when I was in high school, I was very, I was pretty lost and misguided. Not to say that I'm not lost now, right? Like, I have moments all the time where I'm like, I don't know what is happening or where I'm going or what I'm doing. But I think the only difference between the Anthony back then and Anthony now is the Anthony now makes a plan. You know, at least I'll like make a plan, and if it gets messed up, then again, you know, if I thought I was going right, but life's taking me left, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're going this way. But
what specifically did she do?
She, you know, specifically, I mean, I started theater when I was 16, and that was when I did my first that was when I did my first musical. She was the director at the time of the theater guild in school, and you know, I thought I was auditioning for a talent show, ended up being a musical. I sing my song. She's like, okay, can you do the lines? I'm like, nah, I don't do that really. Like, I don't know, what is this, what's happening? And she goes, you know, oh, it's a musical. I'm like, I mean, I'll give it a shot. I did it. I get in. She gives me a lead role in this musical that the students wrote called Love Conquers All. It was like a, you know.
And you weren't into theater at all at this point?
No, I've never done a musical before. I didn't even like musicals.
Really?
No. I said, all right, I guess I'll give it a shot. And I get on stage and I'm wearing like this ridiculous like cloak, like robe kind of thing.
Didn't you have some sort of wig or something on as well?
I had this cardboard like crown.
Yeah, that was it.
You know what I mean? That it looked like the Burger King joints that you see on top of the seats when you get it. And then I had like way too much makeup on, eyeliner and blush, and you know, I'm like playing Zeus, and I looked like the furthest thing from what I think Zeus would look like. But I was on stage singing this song it was like a rendition of Baby It's Cold Outside, but a spin on it called Baby It's You I Love that this guy Ross, this student named Ross wrote. He was the music director, this young kid, he's like a sophomore at the time, brilliant musician, and rewrote this song for the show. And I'm singing this song to Hera, who is my love, you know, my wife, my love interest, my partner. And I'm just on stage, and I know I look ridiculous, but I don't feel ridiculous. Like I feel like
you belong.
I'm having this moment on stage, like, yo, I feel like I belong here, and it's so weird. Because I didn't think I would feel that, especially not doing musical theater. You know, I had felt that before, maybe singing on stage. You know, I sang as a kid in junior high school, but I stopped, you know, and then I was like, this thing was just supposed to be a one-off talent show, whatever. I was supposed to come here and just do one song in my mind when I auditioned first. And, you know, she was like, yo, I think you really got something. And I was like, I mean, you for real? She's like, yeah, but my grades weren't good. I was pretty I wasn't focused, you know, necessarily in school. Like, I got distracted easily. The only thing that really kept me focused was baseball and sports. So I started I started doing more of that. I started leaning in more. I was on the wrestling team. I was on the baseball team. I was working out with the football team.
But let's digress for 2 seconds. You were playing baseball. You were pretty good, from what I understand.
I was good. You know, I was good enough to play in college.
And you wanted to do that as a career.
I wanted to be a professional baseball player, but I knew I wasn't going to be. You know, I knew at 17 I was on the field playing, and I'm just like, what am I doing here? You
And
know,
I heard one day
you
just stopped
I
coming.
just stopped coming to the games.
Really?
I did, yeah. I finished the high school season, then I was playing in my summer, in the summer league. That's what you usually do in New York. You play the high school, you play for your school during the spring, and then you play in the summer team all the way through the fall until it gets too cold to play.
And what was it that said, I don't belong here?
I don't know. I was just in the outfield. I was playing outfield that time in that game. And I usually play second base, but I was in the outfield in that game. And I was just like standing out there like,
what the hell am I doing here?
The fuck am I doing? Can we not supposed to?
You can say anything you want.
Yeah. I was fucking standing there like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, just out there waiting for somebody to hit some shit to me or like, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this anymore.
So when you didn't show up, did they contact you and say, "Hey, Anthony, where are you?"
Rest in peace, my coach Rick DeMarco Sr. He wasn't happy about me not showing up anymore, and his son was my coach in high school, and and those guys just really cared. They cared about their players, they cared about us, and that's why it was half like, yo, why you not showing up to the game? And the other half like, yo, like, what are you doing instead, kind of thing. Like, are you good? Like, I don't know. Like, and it was irresponsible of me, to not be communicative and to not say to them, yo, I quit. I don't know, for whatever reason, I didn't have the heart to tell them. And, I'm in high school, and that's my senior year. I didn't have a college to go to out of school. Like, I thought I had a plan, and then all my applications got withdrawn from all the schools I applied to because I didn't get the financial aid forms in time. I didn't send the papers in on time. So
how did you end up with this thing called the Seinfeld?
So fast forward, Sarah goes, she says, yo, we're not gonna give up. We're gonna audition for this school called AMDA, this school in New York, called the American Musical and Dramatic Academy. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't think I'm gonna get in, but you really think I should do this? She's like, absolutely, you should do this. So I go and I audition, and then I get in. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, how am I gonna pay for this?
Right, she helps me with the audition material and everything. She paid for the application. I was gonna quit. I didn't even want to finish the application. And one of my boys calls her because I was crying. My boy Jason from school, and goes, yo, Anthony's crying in the crib talking about he want to go to the Navy. He wants to quit. He wants to leave. And she's like, put him on the phone. I get on the phone. She's like, come to my house right now. Basically like, get your ass to my crib right now. We're going to finish this application, and I'm going to send it in. No, I don't want to do this anymore. And she's like, yo, like, basically, don't be a bitch. Get your ass to my crib, and we're going to finish this. And I was like, all right. So we walked actually from his house where he lived. It was a long ass walk. Like,
really?
I mean, she lived almost 2 miles away from him. I think.
Man.
And we walked our asses over there. Finally, we get there, and she's waiting for us. She opens the door, and she's got a setup right at a round table. And this wasn't even her house; it was her brother's house, because she was like, "I'm not taking these kids to my crib." So her brother's wife and the kid, they chilling in the living room while we're at this round table in their kitchen finishing these essays, and we wrote them, and then she paid the $50 for the application because I didn't have the money to pay for the application. She sent it out. I go and audition for the school. I get in. I couldn't afford. Then I get the welcome packet. I couldn't afford it. She helped me with the song for the school. Like, another teacher, Miss Han Violette, helped me with the monologue to do for it. This monologue from King Lear, the Shakespeare play.
And did you have any idea what it was about? I mean, did you have any focus on Shakespeare and King Lear?
Well, I was actually taking her Shakespeare class.
Ah, okay. So you did.
In high school. And that was the only honors class I could take because I didn't have honors grades, but she believed in me so much as an actor. This other teacher, that she's like, I'm going to put you in my class.
Huh.
Because even though your grades, like, you wouldn't necessarily be able to get into this class if you applied for it.
But she stuck her neck out.
But she was like, nah, I want that kid in my class. And I ended up taking her class.
So how did this scholarship happen?
So the scholarship happened when I was, after I get into the school, I get the welcome packet. I couldn't afford it. And I was like, yo, I can't do this. And then they wanted a loan for, I think, over $16,000 or something like that. And basically, I looked at my mother and I'm like, yo, we can't afford this. Like, I don't know what we're gonna do. And my mom just keeps saying, don't worry, Papa, God is gonna make a way. I'm like, well, if God gonna make a way, I'm gonna need my man to move fast. 'Cause, you know what I mean?
You better hurry.
Clock is ticking. And she's like, no, Papa, don't worry, God's gonna make a way. God's gonna make a way. I'm like, all right. And basically, Sarah says to me, I was doing a community theater show for a community theater company at the time called the Stravelli Players. So I'm in rehearsal with them for this cabaret we were gonna do in like a month, and Sarah Steinweiss pulls me out of rehearsal because she knew all them cats too. She knew all them people that worked there. She pulls me out of rehearsal. She goes, "Yo, I gave your name to the Jerry Seinfeld Scholarship Foundation. They want to meet you." I was like, "Well, have they seen my grades?" She's like, "Yeah." It's like, "You sure? Because if they saw my grades, I don't know if they want to meet me." And she's like, "Yes, they saw your grades." And I was like, "Okay." So she's like, "But I told them about you, and they had given a scholarship out to a girl at our school 5 years prior because of her. She wrote a same kind of letter, passionate, like, yo, you got to meet this girl. Her story is amazing. Her story is incredible. I believe in her so much. Please meet her." And they did, and they gave her a scholarship 5 years prior to that. And then later, right, they hit me up, and they're like, "Yo, we'll meet him." I was like, "Okay, cool." I sit across from this woman named Kate Fenneman, who's still a friend of mine. She goes, I just told her my story. I told her everything. I said, "Look, I grew up in drugs and alcohol, and I grew up in violence, and I grew up in a low-income neighborhood, and, we struggled a lot. But I was like, I just need a chance. I just need to, I said, my circumstances are, I said my grades are not a reflection of who I am. That's what I said to her. I said, I just need a shot. I need somebody to give me a chance." And, she got emotional. I was a little emotional. I was like, "All right, I'm out." And I left. And then a few days later, the school calls me for a loan. And I was like, "I can't afford this." So I asked the dude, I was like, "Yo, my man, can you give me one more day?" So I didn't know what I was going to do with it another day, but I was just like, who knows, right? A miracle could happen in a day.
Yep.
Me having like this faith.
And it did, apparently.
And it did. 2 hours later, I get a call from the scholarship fund. "Hey, it's Kate." "What up, Kate?" "We don't usually give the scholarship out to people with your grades, but we want to pay for your school for all 4 years.
All 4 years?
Wherever you want to go."
Oh, my.
And I was just immediately, I started crying. Immediately in my mind, I just kept hearing my mom, "Don't worry, Papa, God's going to make a way. Don't worry, Papa, God's going to make a way." And I kept hearing that in my head.
Oh, my.
As soon as she called, and my mother was there when we got that call.
She must have broken
down. It was
down
on the
as
house
well.
phone. We had a house phone at the time.
Oh, my.
And yep, they called on the landline, and yeah, we both fell to our knees. We were crying, we praying, we just thanking God for the opportunity. And like in that, and Sarah believing in me like that, she's still one of my closest friends. She's one of my best friends in my life. And it's cool that now, like, I'm now working with Kate with my own scholarship fund for the first time.
No.
Yeah, and we just put our first, student through school, this girl named Najalise.
Paying it forward.
And I'm working with Kate, and Sarah helps me pick whoever the scholar is, you know what I mean? So hopefully, God willing, we're gonna grow this thing to be something big. I wanna put hundreds of students through school. That's my goal. But we starting off with one.
Did you ever meet Jerry Seinfeld and thank him?
I did. He didn't even know he gave me a scholarship.
He didn't even know?
He had no idea.
No kidding.
Nah, but I don't blame him, right? Like, he gave his money to a foundation that his sister was running. Like, he don't know. But I did say thank you. I said, "Yo, thank you so much. You put me through school, man." And he just was looking at me. His eyes got wide. Like, I don't know who the fuck this kid is. Bro, that shit was so funny.
Hysterical. But at least you got a chance to thank him.
I got a chance. I thanked him twice. I met him twice, and I met him a few times after that, and I went to the World Series with him and his family.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I met them during Hamilton, and it was cool. It was I was hanging out with them for a little bit, and for a little period of time, man. So it was nice to get to know them like that. For me to, more than anything, for me to say thank you to him, and his wife too. Just thank you to his family. Thank y'all for changing my life.
They changed your life, no question about it. So I always knew you were an emotional guy. I'm finding out just in the first few minutes here how emotional you are, and you're a crier, and you're a person who believes in God, and you're thankful for things that happen sort of in a miracle sort of fashion.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a few steps back. You and I met about 10 years ago. I decided after going through some stuff that I wanted to try theater again. Yeah. And when you and I were doing Grease in a place called...
it was Surf Light Theater,
right?
On Long Beach Island. Long Beach Island, yeah.
And you were like 19, I think, maybe.
I was 19,
yeah. And I was scared out of my mind because I thought, well, I'm out of my element. And somehow you and I bonded. Let me ask you a question, because since you were 19, you didn't really kind of know my background in television. Because the other kids knew that they grew up watching me on Nickelodeon and Food Network stuff. I don't think you ever knew any of that stuff.
I saw you on Double Dare, though. I used to watch Double Dare. Yeah. Like, I knew who you were when you were coming in, but I didn't know about all the other shit you was doing, like the Unwrapped and all that shit. Like, I didn't know that, because they was like, yo, Mark Summers. I was like, yo, I know I'm mess with Double Dare, but like, I was like, that's what's up. Like, it was the dude from Double Dare, so you getting slimed and shit, like. But I was like, but I was excited. I was excited to meet you, actually. I was.
And we bonded instantaneously. I never know what that's about. I always think it's a chemistry thing. Like when I met my wife, she was standing in line. I was a page at CBS, and she was coming in to go to the Mary Tyler Moore show, and we just connected. Yeah. And 4 weeks later, I asked her to marry me, and we've been married 47 years. It was just a thing, okay?
Yeah.
So you're kicking ass and taking names here at Grease, and we all... Drew Gasparini, who's a friend of ours.
Shout out to Drew, man. I love Drew, yeah.
And we would stand on the side, and you were always like the first one in, the last one out. You were always rehearsing. You were always working on it. And we both looked at each other one day and said, if anybody's going to make it, this is the guy who's going to make it, okay? You had something special, some aura around you, okay? So fast forward the tape. You were nice enough to invite me and Drew and the cast members to come and see you sing at some theater in New York, and it was like the next big stars to be on Broadway, or I don't know what the...
Broadway's Rising Stars.
Broadway's Rising Stars.
Showcase.
Yes.
Town Hall, yeah.
And there you were, and the singers and the performers were amazing, and here you came, and you did something that is always the most frightening thing to me as a performer. You forgot the words to the song.
I forgot my fucking words.
And you stopped and started, and I, like Drew is kicking me, and we're sort of sliding, and we're sweating for you. And what'd you do? You stopped the orchestra 2 or 3 times.
I stopped them once, and I forgot my words twice, but I kept going the second time. But like I said, this one wasn't as bad as the first one, and I can't stop the orchestra again. So let me just keep going.
So now you're done with that. You get through it somehow, and we're standing at the door and trying to figure out what the hell did we say to him, And your mom was there, and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
What was that experience like to you inside? Did you figure, oh, hell, this is over with, I ain't going to make it, or it's just another experience?
No, because you know what, though? What I was so encouraged by was, like, it was almost like I had this moment where I was proud of myself. Like it's almost like I was outside of myself in that moment where I said, yo, good shit, man. Like, you handled that all right. I'm not even going to lie. Like, I had to give myself some props because... It was crazy, like and I knew I was struggling with that song from the moment we started, even and like the way they had us prepare like 5 songs, and then they picked one, and I was like, yo, I wish I was just focusing on one, because like I'm like, yo, we working on 5, 4 or 5 songs before we picked the one that we're gonna perform, And by the time we got to the performance, they picked the one that I was least prepared with.
Oh man! And
I was like, what the fuck I'm gonna say? I'm least prepared. This is the song they want me to sing, and I was like, nah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try at least. And back if it was nowadays, I would have definitely been like, nah, I'm 100%. I'm not singing this, y'all.
But now you have the confidence to do that.
Right? Yeah, I didn't have the confidence to do that back then, and it was like, and I get up there and I start singing the first few lyrics. And I never had a moment in my life where I said, I'm about to forget the words.
Really?
Like I literally, while I'm singing the song, I'm like, I am about to forget the lyrics. My brain is not catching up to the music right now. And sure enough, I forget them. And I start mumbling, and then I stop singing, and I'm looking around, and I just said, beautiful people, beautiful people, beautiful people.
That's right. I
started waving my hands at the audience, and I'm waving my hands at the orchestra. I'm just like, beautiful people, beautiful people. Look. Hold on, beautiful people. Look. And then the orchestra just like, they stopped playing. I said, ladies and gentlemen, we had a bit of a lyric malfunction.
There's a term that I had never heard before, right there. A lyric malfunction.
A lyric malfunction.
Good God.
And I said, look, y'all deserve the best. Y'all came out and I said, if y'all want to hear that again, but 10 times better,
let's go back to the start.
make some noise. I said, make some noise. And the fucking crowd goes crazy. You know, look at the orchestra. And I'm like, and I give him like the nod, like, holy shit, we just got out of that. But like real confidence, still slick. I'm like, yeah, all right, guys, let's do this. I wink at one of them, maybe. In my mind, I winked at one of them. Like, I thought I was the shit. And what was crazy is like one of the guys in the orchestra was actually a guy that worked at my school at AMDA. So I knew him, John. He was playing on the piano. So it was almost like this familiarity. I knew this dude. I ain't know him like that, but I knew him. But anyway, it was like, I was like, yo, all right, let's start again. And we start again, and we're doing it. And I had gotten a little further in, but I said, I'm about to forget the lyrics again in the same spot. And I did, but I kind of mumbled my way through until I got to a part that I knew. And it was soon enough for me to just continue the song.
And get through it.
And just get through it. And that night, the only thing I could think of it wasn't the fact that I forgot the lyrics, the fact that like I bounced back. And it was almost like a metaphor for my life. Like it's not about how you fall. Like it's about how you get up, you know, and what you do when you get up.
That's what this is all about. You know, one night I only had like 2 or 3 pages of dialogue, and one night I forgot the lines, and I
remember that too.
And I just said, I don't know what the next line is, but it has something to do with these damn shoes. I remember, and the cast just lost it. They all fell over laughing their asses off because it's like I didn't know what to do. Yeah. You know, because you know it better than me because you did. How long did you do Hamilton?
Man, I did that shit for like
2 years,
2.5 years,
2.5 years, and sometimes
over 600 shows or something. Like
you're
that.
out there thinking about doing the laundry or something. You're not sort of focused on the show, right?
I'm thinking about what audition I got the next day, practicing lines in between. You know, and I get off the stage immediately. I got my dialogue for whatever audition I got the next day, right by my seat or something like that backstage. You know, it's like because eventually you know it. So you know it like the back of your hand. You like.
Yeah, you think you can fake your way through it, and sometimes it ain't that easy, you know? It's amazing.
No, it's not.
Tell me about your work ethic, because I understand that when you were younger, the work ethic you have today did not exist.
No, it wasn't as focused. You know, I think it was always there, but it just wasn't focused. I was very distracted easily, you know, like as a kid. You know, and we had a lot going on. You know, our family was dealing with a lot, you know, like, you know, my mom's raising 3 kids by herself in the projects. She's making barely 30 G's a year.
What was she doing?
She's a medical biller. She worked at a couple of hospitals, and she picked up a second job at a laboratory, but that didn't really last too long. And you know, my mom was struggling a lot, you know, and
I've known you for 10 years. I've never asked you about your father. Did you know your dad at all?
I did. I do. I know my dad. He's still he's
still around.
And
what kind of relationship do you have?
You know, it's been turbulent for a lot of years. I think right now we're kind of just like just steady. Like it's just like we're cool. You know, like I got no beef with him, but
does he appreciate what you've been able to accomplish?
I think he does, you know, and he lets me know too. He's like, kid, that thing, you know, he'll send me a photo of him watching a thing that I did on his TV, you know, so it's cool when I see that, you know, and you know, I think he's more of like, he's less, I look at him not so much as like my dad, but more like a guy that I have deep love for because he is my biological father, and I think there's something in the DNA, there's like a connection there that I can't deny.
Of course.
But you know, I think it's just I just kind of I think our relationship now is sort of like it was rough for a lot of years, but I've forgiven him and I love him, and you know, and I think but I think I do my best to kind of like, and that's not just with him, I think with multiple people in my life I've accepted like, oh, this relationship is like this. So I just have to create like boundaries, healthy boundaries for myself.
Sure.
In order to maintain this relationship, and in order for me to continue to improve as an individual myself, and continue to like learn how to love more authentically, if that makes sense, right? Like
it does. This is a situation where You don't have to answer any question you don't want to. Has he ever asked you for anything?
He has.
And how do you deal with that?
It's tough because I think for me, like I try, and this is with anyone, right? Like if I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, I'll probably say something now. Before I wouldn't. But I think the way I deal with it now is, especially like if it's money or something like that, like for me, and he doesn't ask me really for shit now, you know. But I think, you know, the way I navigate it is like, if it don't cost me nothing, I'll give it to him. But if it's gonna cost me something, I won't.
Well, as you know, the more successful you get, people think that you have so much money that you can hand it out. And I remember I loaned some friend of mine some money, and when I a couple of years later said, "Are you ever going to pay me back?" and he said to me, "Why? You don't need it."
And you told me this story before too.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And you know that people feel that way, that they're entitled, but when it's a parent, it's got to be a whole different feeling, and you don't want to say no because the DNA is there, but on the same token, it's not necessarily a positive thing at all times. So
no, it's not, and it hurts, you know, sometimes, right? You know, it's like, but at the same time, I've learned how to navigate it in a way where it doesn't hurt. It does. I don't allow myself. Excuse me. I don't allow myself to get hurt by that kind of shit anymore because I'm like, everybody's human, you know. And I say to myself, if that happens, he's having a human experience. He's having his own human experience right now, and I don't have to allow that to affect me negatively. You know, like, and you know, and if I have the communication skills to communicate to him, I feel like this makes me feel like this when you do this, and this is with anyone, really, anyone especially close to me that I care about. If I care about you enough, I'm gonna say to you, I'm like, this thing made me feel like this when you did that. So now the ball is in your court. Now the ball's in your court for you to you know, respond to that in a way where you're like, oh, I heard him. So let me listen and let me acknowledge that. And oh, this thing made him feel sad, and this vice versa, right? If I care about somebody enough and you tell me, yo, Aunt, the last time you did that to me, I actually felt this way, and I didn't, you know what I'm saying, it didn't make me feel good, or it made me feel like you didn't hear me or you didn't care. Then because I love you and I care about you, I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna hear you. I'm gonna take in what you just said, and then, okay, Aunt, what can you do next time to you know what I'm saying, to meet this person in the middle, meet this person's needs in the middle, you know? If it doesn't, you know what I'm saying, if it doesn't stray from like your moral compass, like if this person's like, oh, last time you didn't, you know, smack that person for me, it made me feel sad, like you didn't care about it. It's like, no, I'm not smacking nobody for you. I'm not, you know what I mean, I'm not gonna do nothing crazy. But like if somebody's like, oh, when you said that thing that certain kind of way, okay, let me communicate in a different way. Let me do the work on my end to figure out how to communicate with you in a way that makes you feel loved, that makes you feel, you know, and that I guess that goes back to, you know, I don't take it personal if he asks me something, or my mom asks me, whatever. And if I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, I now have the courage, which I didn't have as a kid, right? Like, it goes back to the reason why I didn't tell the guy I'm not prepared. I can't sing the song because I'm actually not prepared. That would have been the honest and vulnerable thing to do, but instead I said, no, I'm just gonna do the thing that I know I'm not prepared to do.
But in your 30 short years, your maturity level is insane, okay? I'm gonna jump around. I had another question I want to ask, but here's what I want to jump to. Alice and I, my wife, watched you on In Treatment every week that you were on, okay? And we thought, Jesus Christ, how does that guy do that, okay? Because when I watch various performers, sometimes a De Niro or a, you know, pick your person, I can see them acting.
Yeah.
But when we watched you on In Treatment, I never saw you acting. I believed every waking moment that you were that character and you were living that. How the hell do you do that?
I just felt him.
You really did. You were that person.
Thanks for watching it, and I'm grateful that you felt the thing that I felt, you know, which which I hoped came out of me in the performance. But it was like, yo, like, I feel this dude. You know, he feels neglected by his mom. Even if I don't necessarily, if our stories are not parallel, you know what I mean, when it comes to our relationship with our parents or his relationship with where he's from, and you know, like.
Was there backstory that they gave you on this character, or did you make that backstory up? No,
there was no backstory. I mean, the story was all there though, you know, like, and this dude Chris Gobble, who's an incredible writer, this was kind of based on his life.
Oh, I didn't know that. He
actually he went through this shit. And I didn't. And what's interesting is that I didn't have that conversation with him until after we did it, and because I wanted to thank him. You know, like, I was like, yo, why haven't I met the writer? And I'm like hitting them up, like HBO or whoever. I was like telling my manager, yo, please connect me with Chris, because I have to thank this writer for his vulnerability. I have to thank him for this piece that I was blessed to do. You know?
Any of it ad-libbed, or was it your word, doing it word
for word, man.
Really?
Word for word. And it's usually, yo, I kid you not, 90% of the shit I've done, I've ad-libbed on.
That's what I figured. So this was all there on the page.
All there on the page. Everything, every word I uttered, every word I said, everything was on. It was already there.
Man, if you have not watched that, I got to tell you, you folks need to go on HBO and pull this up, because you went up. It's one of the best performances I've ever seen you. I've seen you do everything. That one was unbelievable, man.
Thanks.
Yeah. So let me jump back a little bit. You auditioned for In the Heights initially.
Yeah.
And that one didn't go so well either, huh?
Bombed.
So what happened on that one?
Didn't go so well is different from bombing. Fucking horrible was what it was.
Now, you knew the lines, you knew everything. What happened? Did you just freeze?
I just didn't know. I just was like, I forgot how to act.
Really?
Yeah. I don't
That's
know what
crazy.
happened I don't know what happened that day.
But eventually you did get on a tour of that, right?
No, so what happened was I auditioned for In the Heights for the first time when we met.
Yeah.
When I was 19 for a national tour. I killed that shit.
Right.
But you know what? I messed up on the for whatever reason, I was so nervous I couldn't sing the part.
Really?
In the singing part of the audition, and I still came back for a dancing part, but I knew it once I saw Tommy Kale's face and Alex's face. Like when I was trying to sing this part for, I was auditioning for Sonny and Usnavi, but it was mostly I knew I'd probably be Sonny because I looked younger. I looked 16, and I knew I left the room being like, yeah, no, that wasn't the one, and I still had another callback after that, but after that audition, after that, I was waiting and didn't get it. And that was for a national tour of that show. When the show had closed on Broadway, they were taking the show on the road, and I didn't get it, and I was crushed, you know, because that was like the show that I saw like out of college that I felt like, yo, this shit is like, if there's any show I'm gonna do in musical theater, it's this. Yeah. It feels like the only show I can do in musical theater right now. And, you know, and fast forward, they started to release the rights out to, and that was just that audition for that one.
That was
right?
the national tour.
The national tour. So then they released the rights for regional productions, regional theaters around, like Surflight and like Pioneer Theater Company in Salt Lake City, who ended up doing the show. I went and auditioned for them. And what was crazy was I couldn't even get into that audition because I wasn't a part of the actors union.
Oh, you weren't in equity yet?
Nah. So
wait a minute. I got an equity when we did Surflight. You didn't get in that way?
Nah.
Wow.
Because they had to hire a few non-union actors as well to fill out some of those roles that weren't like the lead roles.
Oh.
You know, so I was one of those non-union actors, and you know, and then for Pioneer Theater Company, they were doing appointments. But they were also doing open calls, but only for equity. It was an equity call. Yeah. So because I wasn't equity, I couldn't get into the open audition. So it was crazy. I went to my acting class. I'm telling one of my teachers, I'm like, shit, man, like I really wanted to audition for In the Heights. They was doing it at this theater, but like I couldn't get seen, you know, because I'm not equity. She goes, oh, what theater? I was like, oh, Pioneer. She's like, oh, I know the casting director there. This guy named Rich Cole. Word? I was like, oh, cool. She's like, yeah, you know what? I'll tell him about, you know, no, she actually didn't even say that. She didn't even say I'll tell him about it. She's like, yeah, I know the casting director there. I was like, yo, I mean, if you could hook it up. She's like, oh, yeah, no, I see what I could do. You know, people say I see what I could do all the time. Then fast forward, in my last in our last class, maybe 2 weeks later, or was it a week or two later, it was our final performance. She emails me, she's like, "Yo, your performance was so beautiful, man. Like, I was so moved. I gave your name to Rich Cole about In the Heights, and he said for you to reach out to him, send your headshot and resume. Here's the email, blah, blah, blah." I send the headshot and resume, I get no response. So I'm like, shit. Dude never hit me back. I was tight. I was like, fuck, man. So I go, I'm like, all right, you're still beating the pavement. I'm doing these open auditions. I'm doing these open calls. Because in theater, that's, it's a lot easier to get seen than in film and television. You can make it in theater, without having an agent. Like, it's a lot
But you
easier.
have to be
rather.
persistent, man.
You gotta just be, you gotta be like an animal, though.
Yeah.
I was waking up so early in the morning.
Go stand in line.
To stand in line, to then.
And then sometimes stand in line for 8 hours and people go through and go, nope.
No, you can't. Yeah, we can't. We're not gonna see you.
Yeah.
So you gotta be willing to do that. And then, but basically, Jenny Mercine is the name of my teacher from school, from college. She goes, Rich Cole. And then we're doing appointments. So I'm auditioning for another production of In the Heights at some like non-union theater that I think eventually went like bankrupt or something like that. But they were doing a production of it as well. And I went in and auditioned. I didn't even get a call back for that.
Man.
I was like, y'all not gonna give me a call back for fucking In the Heights? Like, bro, what? I was like, it's
Flower drum song, I'd get it. But
I don't expect shit most times, but come on, G. At least for the fucking In the Heights.
Yeah, I'm the guy.
Like, not even for the dude in the back that's singing 2 notes. Like, you're not even gonna give me a call back for that? Like, come on, son. But I was like, you know what I mean? Like, but I get out of that audition and I see next door that they were doing appointments for the one that I really was trying to get into for a Pioneer Theater Company. And so I'm like, shit, man, I should give the monitor, the person, brings the people into the audition, my headshot and resume and see if I can maybe wait around and see if they got space and time, they can see me today. I didn't have anything prepared, nothing. I was like, fuck it, I'll just
go in.
Just get in there. And the monitor comes out. I pump fake. I thought twice. She goes back in. I'm like, I missed my chance. Then all of a sudden, this older man comes out of the door, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, something inside me is like, follow this guy. Follow him. He was walking to the elevator because he would take smoke breaks, Rich. And he was going downstairs to take a smoke break. And something inside me was telling me, yo, get up and follow this dude. And I'm talking to a couple of my friends, and I just was like, yo, guys, give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
Your instinct kicked in.
Yo, I'm telling you, I grabbed my headshot and resume, and I just started walking fast. I had to catch up to him. I walked, but without being a creep, but looking like I'm walking with intention.
Yeah.
Like with intent.
Yeah, not a stalker.
Right. Finally, elevator. He's at the elevator. I pull up. I'm like, hey, man, how you doing, brother? My name's Anthony Ramos. I know you know Jenny Mercine. She's a good friend of mine. She's my teacher. She said she told you about me. He's like, you a friend of Jenny? I was like, yeah. He's like, okay. He's like, yeah, I was wondering if I could give you my headshot and resume. I just want to give it to you. He's like, yeah, you can give me a headshot and resume. I give him my headshot and resume, and that was it. And I left, and I went to go get lunch. And I'm sitting having lunch, and all of a sudden I get an email like, hey, Anthony, it's Rich Cole. And open it. Yo, you know what? I could pull the email. I still have the email.
Really?
I still got this shit in my phone.
That's crazy.
Like, it's bugged out. And I be reading this shit sometimes, like, to people when I'm telling the story. But
it's cool that you kept it.
Yeah, I still got this shit. And it goes, so this is June 12th, 2012 from Rich Cole. It says forward, In the Heights audition. It says, hi, Anthony. I just got an opening for Pioneers In the Heights tomorrow at 11 a.m. back at Chelsea Studios, 151 West 26th Street, 5th floor. Do you want it? Sing in the style of the show. Prepare the attached Graffiti Pete side. Graffiti Pete is he's like one of the characters. He's not like the lead character. He's like a supporting role. I said, let me know if this works for you best, Rich.
What'd you say?
I wrote, absolutely. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. He said, any friend of Jenny's and student of Cindy Tolley, who was my ballet teacher in college.
Oh, man.
Who actually had mercy on me because I would never come to class in ballet tights. I was always wearing basketball shorts. And she used to get so upset. Cindy Tolley is cool with me. Smiley face. I said, right on, man. See you tomorrow. And I went in and I booked it and I got my equity card.
Wow.
My equity card like that.
How long did you do that?
I did that only for about 6 weeks, and then fast forward to the movie. When the movie was still with the Weinstein Company, they were doing auditions. They were about to do it. They were getting serious about it. They were about to do it, and that was when I auditioned. I auditioned for the film, and this was after Hamilton. And I went in and I bombed that shit. It was just bad, not a good audition. It was a horrible audition.
Really?
Yeah, that was the one where I said I feel like I forgot how to act. And I left and said, damn, that was my chance, and I blew it. And a couple years later, the movie leaves the Weinstein Company, and Warner Brothers now has it. And I was like, fuck, man, if only I could just get a meeting with the director, John Chu. If only I could just meet him. Like, I don't know, I just feel like...
Were you not close enough with Lin where you could have called Lin and said, man, I need this?
Nah, I didn't feel comfortable.
Really?
I didn't feel comfortable calling Lin and being like, yo, can you link me with John? Because I knew this is Lin's baby, and they have to have their process.
Yeah.
And they have to have their due process. And I said, I got a team. If my team can't do it, then yeah, I might have to hit Lin on the side and be like, yo, my man, please. But
how'd you get to John Chu?
So my team set it up.
And where'd you meet him?
I met him at a breakfast spot right by where he used to live in West Hollywood. And
did you fly out for that meeting? Or were you already out here?
I was already out there.
You were already there, okay.
And I sat with him. First I showed up to his house, and then I met his wife and I met Willow, who was very, very young at the time. His daughter. And was Willow born? I think Willow was born already.
I read about this, and he said when you walked out the door, he knew you were the guy.
It was wild. It was like, and then like we sat there and we just shared stories like for an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. We were sitting there.
So it was organic.
And it was just so organic, and I never connected with a director like that.
Really?
It's I just felt this energy with this dude, and I was like, yo, fuck, man. I feel like if we do this shit together, this shit gonna be crazy.
And the movie was unbelievable. First of all, when the trailer came out, I sent it to everybody. I went, holy shit, look at this thing. This is the most insane thing I've ever... It looked like a Busby Berkeley musical from the 1930s or 40s, Yeah. And then COVID hits.
Right.
And it gets delayed. And then it finally comes out, but it's split between theaters, which nobody was going to, and then it goes on streaming and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, it didn't become the massive hit that we all thought it was going to become.
Yeah.
How does that affect you? Because there was so much press. You were everywhere, man.
Yeah.
And they couldn't have promoted that show more. But, there was this little thing called the pandemic that was screwing up everybody's lives. So, I mean, what's the reaction to the, oh, my God, it was going to be a $100 million movie, and I think so far they've done $29 million or something like that.
I think, the thing about it is like, I think financially, if you're talking about financials, then yeah, okay, it wasn't the hit that everybody wanted it to be, but a lot of people have seen the shit.
Oh, hell yeah.
And like,
they can't. That's the thing about streaming. Like, you don't really know.
Like, you don't know the optics. Nobody knows the numbers, right? Like, I don't know that shit, but like, I'm finding out.
Yeah, walking down the street.
Fucking, I'm at the AMAs last night, and Bobby Brown is like, yo, my man, you mean a lot to my kids.
Oh, man.
I'm like, well, then they really only got two options. There's only two movies that I think I've done. That made Trolls World Tour, but nobody saw me that shit. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
People don't even know I was
in
that shit.
No.
Like, it was either they saw Hamilton or they saw In the Heights. And a lot of people, more people than I thought, like being like, yo, In the Heights, In the Heights, In the Heights, In the Heights.
Yeah.
A lot of Latinos especially, like, yo, In the Heights, you In the Heights, we so proud of you. Like,
it was so real. And what about the, let me use this, the most technical term, the bullshit that everybody took, especially Lin, about the casting. I got mad at Chita Rivera, I think it was, who first came out and said everything's fine, and then she apologized for what she said. And you know what? Nobody's done more for ethnic people than Lin Manuel Miranda. Has anybody seen Hamilton, for God's sakes? So why do you think all that shit came down?
Because, people weren't lying. Like, it's the truth. Like, the lead roles, all of us were light-skinned. And I think,
But doesn't the best person get the job?
Well, theoretically, right? But there is still, I think if there are ways to be like, okay, if we specify if this character is Afro-Latino, or this one's got to be this kind of, like it's the same way where they like, this role's Caucasian, this role's African-American, this role. And I think, I think that was what people were like, yo, we just want to see everybody.
Yeah, but
in the lead roles, and I don't blame them. And to be honest, Washington Heights is a predominantly Afro-Latino neighborhood, right? It's Dominican. But specifically, right, there's a lot of like, fair to dark-skinned people in Washington Heights. It's a real place.
Yes.
So
yes.
If this was a made-up place, right?
You could do anything.
I don't think people could say anything.
Right.
There's nothing people could say. But because this is a real place, and these are real people being represented, meaning the people in that community, I understood the outcry. I understood the frustration, so in that way, when people ask me about it, I'm like, you can't, I'm not going to sit here and deny it. Like, yeah, that's a fact. Everybody was light skinned. Could the principal cast have been, because the ensemble cast was very diverse, but could the principal cast have been more diverse? Yeah, we could have been, but I think Lin did what anybody, I don't know, but they picked who they picked for the roles, and I think we all made a movie that we're proud of. We did.
It's an amazing movie, but
I don't necessarily disagree.
Really?
With the people, I don't disagree, and
that's fascinating.
But I don't think what I will say is that I'm still very proud of the movie we
should
made.
Be.
And
worked your ass off.
And I know a lot of people that are very very happy that it exists.
A friend of mine is a Broadway producer, and I was invited to the opening of Groundhog Day. And at the end of the show, he came up to me and said, "Can I talk to you for a second?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "We've had some complaints." I said, "About what?" He said, "Did it disturb you that the female lead was black?" And I said, I didn't notice that she was black." He goes, "What?" I go, "No, I didn't see that." And he goes, "Yeah, well, some people are really upset about that." And I'm thinking, okay, it was 4 or 5 years ago. It's 2018, 2019. People are upset about that. I'm watching NBC promos about they're doing Annie during Christmas, and they have a black Annie. Are people supposed to get upset about that? I mean, the world is freaking nuts. And as a performer, how do you deal with that?
I think as a performer, you just do what moves you and do what feels right. And if people have something to say about what you do, I mean, you have no control over.
No,
I have no control over anything beyond the work that I do. Right, like that's for me. Right, like this is the first Transformers. I'm in Transformers now. I'm the lead of one of the biggest franchises in the world.
Yep,
and I'm a Puerto Rican dude from New York. You know what I mean? Like I ain't Shia LaBeouf. I ain't Mark Wahlberg. Shout out to both of them. You know what I mean? Amazing actors, but I'm not that.
Yeah,
I'm not Haley Steinfeld.
Why'd you get the job?
I think Steven just believed in me, and Steven saw something in me, and he saw something in me that he wanted to have, be a pivotal part of this story.
So if some people complain about, well, why did you put this Puerto Rican kid in that role?
And Dominique is African American from New York. We both from Brooklyn. We both from the hood in New York. Like she knows she not Megan Fox. She ain't the other shorty, the other chick that replaced Megan Fox. In the other one, she's not. She's not any of the. Like this is we got Tobe and Wigway, the incredible rapper, from Houston. Like this is definitely a different Transformers.
It's revolutionary in many ways.
You know what I'm saying? But we took a white franchise, and and Stephen Cable Jr., half Puerto Rican, half black from Ohio. Like know what I mean? Like he's Stephen got a vision, and we're so excited about this movie. Not only because of that, but because of we're bringing some shit to this franchise nobody ever seen. I don't care what anybody says. This movie's about to fucking be the craziest shit, craziest Transformers movies anybody ever seen.
And so you were in Montreal, and then where were you? Somewhere in South America?
We were in Montreal, and we were in Peru.
Peru for how long?
We were in Peru for about 7 weeks.
Were you in the jungles and stuff?
Yeah, we were in Machu Picchu. Nobody ever gets to shoot on Machu Picchu.
No.
And Machu Picchu was
like
our backyard. We shot in Machu Picchu, and then we went to Tarapoto to the jungle. and we were like on the outskirts of the Amazon. I mean, like this shit was crazy.
Where
like,
did you stay?
We stayed at this hotel called the Toucan. The Toucan Suites.
It probably wasn't the Four Seasons, was
No, it was not the Four Seasons, but like it was, you know, like that experience was so special. And then to like be in Peru and to feel that vibe, like Peru is a special, beautiful, mystical place. And if you've never been there, I 100% am like, you need to go there. And, you know, it was like, it was just so amazing to just feel the culture and to like, you know, like we didn't create Peru somewhere else. We went there. You know? We felt the pulse. We felt the people. We felt the music. We felt the country, you know, and what was a blessing was we had their support. So I guess what I'm saying to you is that like you have to just make the thing that means a lot to you, and then after it comes out, people will form opinions about it, and then, you know, and then what you do is, if genuinely in your heart you're like, you know what, yeah, I could have done that better, then you do that better the next time, right? But if there's people have opinion about some shit that you're like, nah, fuck that, I killed that shit, you crazy, then you stand your ground on that shit too, you know. But that's the beauty about art, right? You know, you make a painting and people then it becomes theirs, and they now have the opportunity to interpret it in whatever way they want, because it's not for you anymore. It doesn't belong in the eyes, doesn't belong to us anymore. It belongs to the world.
But the world is so different. When I started doing stand-up in 1976, you could go out there and say and do anything. And now I see Chappelle getting his head cut off for things that he said. And it's like, you know, in stand-up, you know, if you go back to the Lenny Bruces and the people, the George Carlins, who were able to comment on the world, but all of a sudden now you're not allowed to comment on the world because you might hurt somebody's feelings. Yeah, you know, I don't like this world right now. You know, it's uncomfortable for an older guy like me who felt that you could say and do almost anything, and now all of a sudden the creative process is being pulled back, in my opinion, because of other people who don't want to get their feelings hurt.
It's tough to navigate for sure at times, you know, it is. Definitely, you know, and I think, you know, everybody has, you know, everyone feels different about, I think at the end of the day, it's like in your heart, you're like, yo, if I feel like this is right, I'm gonna stand by it. If I feel like this is wrong, I'm gonna stand by it. I'm gonna stand by the fact that I feel like this is wrong, or this is right. This is how I felt. This is what I said. I'm not taking it back. I'm not sorry for what the fuck I said. And that's it. Y'all got to deal with that shit.
Deal with it, exactly.
And y'all can have whatever fucking opinion you want. Yeah, I said that shit in my song. Yeah, I said that shit in that thing. I said it. So what the fuck you want to do?
My wife, whenever I say deal with it, she gets so angry with me. But that's how I feel sometimes, you know, just accept it.
But I think, as long as we're not trying to hurt people, and you know what I mean? We're not trying to.
Not intentionally.
You know, as long as we're not trying to, you know, do damage and hurt people. And I think, you know, everything's up for interpretation.
Got a couple more things, but briefly tell me the story about the audition for Hamilton, because you were going in for a commercial, weren't you?
Nah, I was going in for another musical that I was not right for. But I just went in for it because.
And didn't somebody say there's something over there? I mean, how'd that whole thing happen?
That same casting director was casting Hamilton at the time, and that same casting director was like, "Yeah, nah, not for this thing, but you're really, you know, we'd like to call you in for this thing called Hamilton's Mixtape." And I was like, "Hamilton's Mixtape? What the fuck is that?" And I'm looking at the thing, and I was like, "Oh, Lin Manuel wrote this. Oh, Tommy Kail, the same guys that did In the Heights. Everybody, same team." I was like, "Damn, so this shit might be fly." I'm listening to the music and I'm like, yo, this shit is crazy.
It was.
And then I asked one of my friends about it. I'm like, yo, have you heard about this thing? He's like, yo, you need to absolutely go in for that. I was like, I should, right? He's like, yes. My boy Alan Green. We were doing a Radio City Music Hall at the time.
That was a show that never opened, right?
That was a show that never opened. The show that got canceled a week before previews.
I remember this.
And it was like the equivalent of the Christmas Spectacular, but for spring, called Heart and Lights, and we nicknamed it. We called it Broken Hearts and Shattered Lights.
It never made it, right?
Never made it. Never made it to the stage.
Didn't you tour with Damn Yankees?
I did. I toured.
What part did you do that?
I just played one of the baseball guys.
I love that. It's funny going back to baseball. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And I auditioned for Hamilton. I went to the open audition. I had no agent, no nothing, and I went up in there and I sang Grenade by Bruno Mars. I'll never forget it. And
Love
then
Bruno Mars.
And then she goes, Bethany Knox was the casting director. She goes, "Oh, I see you're doing Radio City right now," which was it's a grueling schedule. If anybody knows, it's like 12 to 16 shows a week. She's like, "I don't know how we're gonna make this work, but you're really right for this, so I'm gonna call you back." I was like, "Okay, cool." She calls me back. I do my I keep getting called back. I finally do my last audition. I go to work at Radio City, and there's a sign on the board that goes, "Everyone, please don't bother signing in. Please meet us all. Please meet in the large rehearsal hall upstairs." And I was like, "I think we're fired." And next thing you know, it was almost like a movie. Like you fucking see the frantic person running from the side of the stage, crying, bawling. And then I said, "Oh, we're for sure fired." And I go upstairs, and yeah, sure enough,
It's done.
they were like, "Yo, show's not ready. It's getting postponed a year." And postponed meant for most of us like you ain't coming back.
Nah.
And
So Damn Yankees was there, huh?
no, so Hamilton
Oh,
was
then
there.
Hamilton came in.
And
Oh,
then,
so-
and then
jeez.
I get a call, bro. It was crazy because we all drinking up all the alcohol and all the fridges and shit, you know, and then fucking having a party in the girls' dressing room. And, you know, it was like we all fired, so let's like go out with a bang. And you know, a couple hours after we got that info, the news, I get a call from Bethany from that casting director. She's like, "Yo, we heard about Heart and Lights. We'd love for you to be a part of Hamilton's mixtape." And this was when it was still in the developmental stage.
Whoa.
And then I kept growing with the show, and that's how I made it off Broadway, and then to Broadway, and then
How did that show change your life at 22?
huge, man. I mean, huge.
That was massive. That was
Yeah.
just insane. And the energy in that theater when you would walk in, and I didn't know what to expect. I listened to the music. I tried to before, and I had a hard time listening to it. And I thought, well, I may be the only human in the world who's not going to like this show. And in like 3 minutes, I was so hooked. It was just like, oh my God, I have never seen, you know, first show I saw was 1966, 67. I saw Fiddler on the Roof on Broadway. I was like a kid of 13 or 14 years old. And, you know, I had seen so much theater in my life, but I never saw anything like that in my life. I don't know if you remember this. We were supposed to meet backstage, and I went backstage, and there was no Anthony Ramos. Do you remember this? You were in
shit,
you
that's
were
right.
in Brooklyn doing some music or something that night.
Was I?
Yeah.
Was I?
Yeah, you went. You said, "Oh man, shit, man, I'm in a recording session. I'm sorry." He said, "I'll come back," and I said, "No," but I hung out with Lin for a while, so that was fun. You know,
Oh shit, that's crazy.
it was crazy. So let's talk a little bit about getting your driver's license
finally,
recently,
bro.
Why? How? What was that about?
Yo, so Transformers, they like, "Yo, we got this car. We want you, you know, in case you got to drive in the movie, we'd really like for him to get his license." I was like, "Bro, y'all want me to get my license right now?"
You live in New York. You don't need a license.
I was like, I was like, shit, how the fuck am I gonna get my license right now? And because it's even hard to get an appointment for the driver's test because of COVID.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Like it had been, shit's backed up, so
Yeah.
people are like fiending to get in and take the driving test to get their license. And I was like, I gotta figure out a way to get an appointment. Thank God my managers helped me. They were just on it. I got one appointment. So I was coming back into New York for In the Heights premiere.
Oh,
So I had a 2-week window to get this license before I went back to Canada to start shooting Transformers. And because I had already been practicing driving, but I hadn't gotten the license yet. So I started taking lessons again. Like it was crazy. Like every time I was about to do it,
Something
I had to
happened.
leave for a movie. I had to leave to record. I had to do some shit that set me back a little bit. And it was almost like I was starting over. Almost, but you know. But then it was like, yo, I was like, all right, I got to do this. I got to try and do this. They get me one appointment. Like, and I hear mad stories of people be like, I failed the first time. I failed the first 3 times. I passed on the 4th one, shit like that. And I was like, God, I cannot afford to fail. I can't afford to fail any time.
were you more nervous doing this or auditioning for a Broadway show?
I was more nervous about my driver's license than I was auditioning for any show ever in my life. And I was like, yo, please, God. And I get in this car, and the woman is so cold.
Really?
Yo. And I think, maybe that's her job. There's no emotional. Hey, what's up? Nice day out, right? Bye, bye, bye. Small talk.
Didn't care, huh?
All right, and just focus. I pull out. I used my mom's car. She's like, make a left here, make a left there. She said, finally, I park. I was nervous about that. Parked, killed it. Thank God. And then I get out of the spot. So okay. She's like, okay, pull out. I'm like, okay. I see her, she writing her notes on her thing. Finally, we pull into the thing. She's like, your driving's fine, but don't forget to check your blind spots.
And that was it, and you passed.
And I said, so does this mean I passed? Does this mean I got my license? She's like,
yeah, that was it.
She just nods her head, yeah. And I just go crazy. Yes!
You become
Thank you
again, man. You mentioned your mom. Tell me what your mom means to you.
Oh, man, my mom means everything to me. Nobody knows me more than my mother. I think my mom knows me at the core, right? Like, as an adult, we're always, I think as we grow, we change, right? We change character traits and things. You communicate better, you communicate worse. You like a certain thing when you're younger, you don't like it anymore when you're older. But I think at the core of me, like when my mother looks into my eyes, she knows. My mom is the champion at, like, she's the fucking, like, no one knows me more than her when it comes to, like, they can look at me and she knows if I'm happy or sad. Like, she can just see it. Like, truly, even if I'm sad, she's like, he's happy. But even if I look happy, she's like, no, he's really sad.
There's a commercial I always kid you about. Was it Crown Royal?
Crown Royal. My mom's in it.
Your
yeah.
mom's in that thing, and I always call you when that thing pops up, and I go, check the bank account because
that's it, baby. Got the check.
You bought her first, or what? Or you bought her a car?
I bought her a car.
Yeah, that's online, which is a way cool thing, man.
Yeah.
I really love that. A couple other things, and we'll get out of here. When you started your career, people were telling you to become more mainstream, grow your hair out, talk differently, all that stuff. How did you deal with that? I mean, did you say, screw it, I'm going to be who I am? Or did you say, well, maybe I should do this?
Yeah, first I was like, maybe I should do this. I want to work, So,
yeah.
And it was a thing about looking ethnically ambiguous, right? Your eyes are green, you got freckles, you're light skinned. If you grow your hair out, nobody's going to know where you're from. They won't know. You're Italian. You're
really?
This, you're that. Are you this? Are you that? No one's going to, are you Latino? Are you not? Are you half this? Are you half that? Like, that's what people kept saying, especially teachers. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Let me give it a shot, And to be honest, I used to be upset at them, but I'm like, I think they were just trying to find a way for me to work, And that was the way they thought that I was going to work, right? But I had a moment where I was like, nah, fuck that.
Yeah, but not everybody can do that.
Nah, but I had to, because I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to speak a certain type of way. I'm not going to if I grow my hair out, it's because I want to grow my hair out. And I only really was growing my hair out because I wanted braids.
Right.
So I was like, I always wanted braids. I never got the shits. I want braids. So I grew my shit out, and then eventually Hamilton started happening. So they were like, keep growing your hair out. I was like, great. I was already growing it out. And then, She's Gotta Have It happen. I worked with Spike Lee, and then I got to actually braid my hair the way I wanted to, and I had all these crazy fire, dope ass braids.
That was a fun show.
Yeah, and it was like, but eventually, and I remember Lin saying this to me too one time. He said, Lin was like, bro, I cracked a joke one time, and I was a little insecure about what I said, or how I said it rather. I was like, man, I think I talk too hood sometimes, man. I gotta change the way I speak. And Lin goes, you don't need to change the way you speak, Papa. You just need to make sure people understand you. And that shit sticks with me forever, because I'm like, it's so true. I used to feel like insecure about the fact that I sound like I'm from the hood in New York, and people have this perception of like, oh, if you from the hood, because instinctually, right? Like if people like, oh, if he from the hood, he got this like this vernacular that sounds like it's slang. So slang is associated with uneducated sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, nah, not true. You crazy? Like, y'all gonna find out that I'm one of the smartest people in this room. And I'm not gonna prove that to you. You're gonna find out. And I'm not gonna change the way I speak. I'm not gonna switch up. I'm gonna come in here with jeans and sneakers, and I'm gonna come in here with whatever. I'm gonna come in here with my fitted hat, and y'all gonna see. And you're gonna see I'm an actor. I shapeshift. I could do whatever, right? But I'm not gonna change who I am so that I can convince you or prove to you that I'm elite at my job. You know what I'm saying? And I had to tell myself that, like, yo, bro, you ain't gotta switch nothing up. Just be the best at your job. Be that dude. Be that person that when you walk in the room, they're like, yo, this motherfucker, we can't deny his ass.
One of the most fun days I had, I was in New York and called you one day and you said, hey, we're doing some recording, come over to the studio. And I sat there for 3 hours. I'd never seen that before. What a process that is, because you were writing while you were performing, and people don't realize how long that takes. You just don't walk in and start doing it. You know, the work that goes behind it. It goes back to your work ethic. You may be the most likable human on the planet, and that's coming true now in so many different ways. I'm going to wrap this up by saying, and I'm going to get all misty-eyed here for 2 seconds, but one of the most amazing things you ever did, see if I can get through this, you were backstage when I was doing the tour, the Double Dare tour, and you said, you know, I've had cancer on and off for 10, 12 years, and you said to me, how you doing? I said, and I wasn't doing good at the time. I had gone through some more chemo and stuff. And you took everybody in that room, and you prayed for me, man. And you sounded like a for real minister. I mean, I don't know where those words came from, but they were authentic, and they were touching. And I called my wife afterwards, and I said, the most amazing thing just happened. And that's who you are. You take your background, and you apply it to everyday life. You take your experiences that many of us have never had, and you use them for roles, but also in your everyday life, the judgments that you make on people. You're wise beyond your years. I cannot thank you enough for doing this for me today. You opened up and I think said some things that may shock people, change people. But what would you tell to the person who wants to be either in this business or any business and constantly is told they can't do it? How do you overcome that?
Well, you know, I love you, man, first of all, and you know, I pray with you any day of the week, you know what I mean? But and I guess what I would say is I don't know, man, just like you can't give up. You just can't give up. You gotta keep going. Like, no matter what life throws at you, and I know that sounds cliche, but you know, you're gonna mess up, you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna fail, people gonna think ill of you sometimes or whatever. People gonna have an opinion about what you decided to do or whatever, or call you crazy when you have big dreams or you do something that seems crazy to everyone else but feels so right inside of you. Like you have to just like have faith in something greater than you, you know, and have faith in yourself, and like you have to dare to dream that big, you know. Like, I think most times I think we're so scared. The thing we're scared of the most are our dreams, because we're like, whoa, that could never happen. Whoa, that's scary. I can't imagine getting that. I can't imagine what would happen if that happened to me. I can't imagine. But what if it did? What would you do? And even if you don't know what you would do, just dream it. Just see it. Believe it. Do it. Let people call you crazy. Let people, you know, and it's like you lead with love and you work hard and you just see what happens. You just see what happens. Just see what happens. Give yourself a chance to see what happens. You know what I mean? But it's like, I just, you know, I guess I tell people, you know, anyone I get the chance to say this to, I'll be like, yo, just like, think of the craziest shit you've always wanted to do, and do it, or try at least the thing that you like. Man, this would be the most incredible thing if I could get that, you know, if I could love a person like this, or if I could feel love like this, or if I could get this kind of job, you know, I don't want to work this job anymore. I want to quit because this has always been my dream. Then you know what?
Do it.
Just fucking do it.
No doesn't mean no. And as I always like to say, the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
I love you, my friend. Thank you for doing this. All right. Marc Summers, Unwrapping Anthony Ramos. Stay tuned for more coming up next week. Marc Summers Unwraps is a production of Believe Limited, created by me, Marc Summers, and Jessica Richmond. Produced by Keith Korneluk and Jessica Richmond. Executive produced by Patrick James Lynch and Ryan Geelan. Post-production support from Joshua Sterling Bragg and Believe Limited. Don't forget to subscribe or follow the show on your favorite podcast player, and if you really love it, why don't you leave us a rating and a review? Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Marc Summers Unwraps.